Hey, what's up, Logos Psychology students? And happy Friday. It is Friday, June 12th, 2020, day 5 of term 6, day 55 of our e-learning experience overall. And we have made it through our first week of term 6, 1 week down, 5 more weeks to go. So we're already a sixth of the way through the term. It's a short term, so good for you for getting off and running to this term, and keep this momentum going, and term will be over and we'll be at summer break before you know it. But we still have a little bit of work to do, right? Those of you who've been keeping up with the work so far this week, good for you. If you haven't been completely keeping up with the work, that's okay. We're only a week into the term. But you want to start getting caught up and not fall too far behind. Let's go ahead and get right into it and take a look at our Blackbaud page. If we get out of here and get into Blackbaud, take a look at the bulletin board. We have our e-learning instructions and that note about the class Zoom meeting, which we had yesterday on Thursday at 9 o'clock. We have them every Thursday at 9 o'clock, so it was good to see those of you who were in the Zoom meeting yesterday. Like to see even more people in the next Zoom meeting next Thursday if we can get that. Again, I don't have to see you. I can just hear you. I don't even have to hear you. I just want to see you logged in so that you get, number one, credit for participation, bring up your grade, but more importantly, it's a good time for us to discuss the topics that we've been discussing, but also discuss, how you can maximize your grade in this class, how you can get everything done so that you get the highest grade possible and can earn credit for psychology. So remember, that's every Thursday at 9 a.m. The Zoom meetings. Again, that was a great Zoom meeting we had yesterday. Look forward to an even better one next week. Let's take a look at the Topics tab before we move on. Under Topics, we find that we are still working on our topic that we've been working on all week, human development. This will be probably the last day for this chapter, chapter 12, because we've reached the end of it. You see the newest reading there and the newest assignment, chapter 12, page 361 to 367. If we click on the download for that chapter 12, page 361 to 367, let's take a look at what we're talking about. Remember, we've been talking all week about chapter 12 is about adulthood and aging, right? And as we move through the chapter, we're getting closer and closer to the end of life, right? Late adulthood, right? And this section deals with some of the concerns in late adulthood. In our society, a lot of people don't look forward to late adulthood. They definitely don't look forward to the end of their life, right? I mean, who would look forward to that? But, our society, unlike other societies, we have a real hard time dealing with this, right? And addressing this in appropriate ways, and seeing value in people like George Burns and I think that's Indira Gandhi. Is that Grandma Moses maybe? Yeah, I got all of them. But then also on the next page, I think we had, or the previous page was it? Next page. Albert Einstein, Rosa Parks, Nelson Mandela. Why are they showing pictures of all these people? Because these are all senior citizens. These are all, well, they're all passed away now. By the time that this book was published, these were all people who were in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and were still living, enjoyable, productive lives. And that's one thing that our society here in America, a lot of these people aren't even American. In our society, we like to, kind of just forget about people once they get in, their later years, and we have no use for them. And we kind of want to put them away, put them in a home, put them away from society, because we, the younger people, are uncomfortable with having people close to the end of life around, because it makes us think about our own mortality, which we're definitely uncomfortable with that. And so that's, what this section ends with. Oh, here's another one. President Jimmy Carter. President Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, wrote a book called The Virtues of Aging. And he wrote this in 1998. So that was, 22 years ago, where he talks about back then being, in his 70s and 80s, and, it not being so bad, actually, embracing it and enjoying life and appreciating, your later years, and not feeling like you're just some worthless person, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we as a society say once you get into your 80s, there's really not much you can do with your life, you're just waiting to die, that's what people do, right? But there's another way of thinking about it, and that's what Jimmy Carter was saying back in 1998. He's still alive. He is 99 years old, right? And still out there, right? Still doing it. So it goes to show that Jimmy Carter was right? You can absolutely live a full and enriching life regardless of age. So that's good news. But, death is a thing. And thanatology is the study of death and dying. There are people who are thanatologists, and that's all they do. They study death and dying. And again, this section gets into the idea that most people don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be a thanatologist. I don't want to think about that. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's understandable why it's difficult for people to deal with. And so it gets into these 5 stages of when people are dying, when people find out they're dying, or when they lose a loved one. We go through these 5 stages, and it can be a long process, it can be a short process, but the process is pretty much the same every time, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance, right? And you have to go through these stages, right? It's very, very rare, if not impossible, for someone to find out that they're going to die or that someone they love is dying or has died, and they just automatically accept it. No. The natural thing is, no, this can't be true. There's got to be a mistake. And then when you realize that's not a mistake, then you're mad. This isn't fair. I'm not ready, right? And then bargaining. Well, what if I did this? Maybe we can get a little bit more time. And then when you realize that's not going to work, then you get depressed. There's nothing you can do about it. This is it. And eventually, we just accept. This is it. I'm ready, right? Now is the time. It's not easy. It's not an easy topic to deal with, but it's a topic that, we shouldn't hide from. Like I said in the Zoom meeting yesterday, this is part of the human experience, and, just pretending that it's not and just ignoring it is not, in my opinion, the right approach to anything, right? When something is difficult to deal with, we should find a way, to better deal with it, to make it easier to deal with. And that's what the assignment, you see the 4 pause for thought questions, which you can find, as always, under the assignments tab. They're also right here. Oh, that's the wrong class. Psychology, right? If we go to the assignments tab, we see chapter 12, page 361 to 367, today's assignment, which is the 4 questions from that reading we were just looking at. And then we have, as always, the question of the day. So let's take a look at this question of the day. And again, with the question of the day, there is no one right answer. It's just what you think. And what I want to know is what you think about this. Do you think our society deals with the concept of death and dying appropriately? Why or why not? If you say no, is there anything we could do differently to better address death and dying, to make it a easier thing for people to deal with? I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. I feel that we don't, right? But what could we do differently? I'll have to think about that, and I'll get back to you. But you go ahead and let me know what you think. Answer the question of the day, and you have those 4 questions to go along with the reading. And if you have any questions or concerns for me, please let me know. Otherwise, have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Peace.